I'm back. Hi, it's the Alison Arngrim Show. Yes, I'm Alison Arngrim. Well, some of you probably remember me as Evil Nellie Olson. But thankfully, tonight I am Alison Arngrim, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show, where we talk about things that make you feel good, the movies and the TV shows that made us feel good, and the people who made them, and people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. And you know, I always love it when I have a friend on, so I know, and returning after. I don't remember, when did I have this man on last? He's like adorable. I'm throwing things on the floor. I'm so excited. I'm dropping things on the floor. I have with me, yes, some of you may, if you lived in LA, you may remember on NBC, we had the man who gave us our weather and our news, who's absolutely incredible. And you may also know him as an incredible stand-up comedian for many, many, many years. He's opened all over the United States for everyone from like Ray Charles to Jay Leno to George Benson. It's like really an odd grouping. You name it, he's done it. He now literally has a residency at the El Portal of his current show. Yes, the star of Unassisted Living, the amazing Fritz Coleman.
God bless you, my darling. So good to see you. You were in the 38th parallel between two fires out there. I'm glad you're okay.
I was like literally I got that fabulous thing. What's it? Watch Duty, the app, and it gives you
Oh,
the
that's
whole
a
map.
great app.
I don't know how. I mean, that gave me the thing because it would tell me the evacuation zone for the Altadena one kept moving further west until I
Yeah,
went,
yeah,
that's by the supermarket. That's a little close for the evacuation zone to be starting there because that's like over
yeah,
there. So it's
yeah.
like, I guess we should pack. So we got ready. We got ready where you get out, the house
Hmm.
insurance papers and the cat carriers. Yeah. And then it moved, the wind changed. But at one point I looked, it was like fire, 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 fire. And I'm the blue dot in the middle, like an equal distance from every fire in Los Angeles. And I was like, well, if we leave, we just get closer to them. So
And the winds were so strong that the embers were blowing 2, 3 miles, and so nobody was really immune from experiencing this firefight.
well, that's why they kept moving the evacuation zones because they were little
Hmm.
fires here, but we got 80-mile-an-hour winds. You need to
Crazy.
move, and then
My
huh?
grandson lives in Montrose, and
Oh,
he
down the
was
street.
just on the edge of the voluntary evacuation zone. They didn't have to leave, but they were fully prepared to.
Yeah, he was
Very
right by
scary.
the street where I was like, that's that. Yep, yep. I'm up the road. And then we have the Angeles Forest right behind us, and there
Yes.
was the Creek fire, the Stone fire, the Lydia fire. They were all like right there, and I was like, well, that's right there. Okay, but now it's out. But what it was like 50, 60-mile-an-hour winds with 80-mile-an-hour gusts. I mean, it's just like incomprehensible. It was hurricane. It
No,
was like a hurricane.
I've told people the whole time I did the weather, the 40 years I did the weather, I live in
Yes.
Toluca Lake. I've never experienced wind that so we had 85-mile-an-hour gusts in Toluca Lake and 90-mile-an-hour gusts at Burbank Airport, which was
Yeah.
unbelievable. And
They diverted flights. I know people said that.
yeah,
One of my friends said I had to go to San Diego to go get my sister. She couldn't get
ay,
in.
ay, ay.
People couldn't land planes at the airports. It was
Yeah.
that insane.
Seems like they're doing a little bit better now. And
Yes, thank
for
heavens.
the climate deniers, I think it's time you open your eyes because there used to
Yeah,
be a Santa Ana season, as you know, being a longtime
absolutely.
resident,
Grew up with them.
October and November. Now it's all bets are off. They can happen anytime during the year and be ferocious anytime during the year.
And the other thing too is, okay, in LA, for people who are not in LA, no, it doesn't really rain here much, but it used to be like a desert, a monsoon season. November and February, you could count on getting a lot of rain in November and in
Hmm.
February. Iffy the rest of the year. So sure, you got the winds in late October, and then it rained like crazy in November, so it was like wet. It wasn't like a thing. But who has Santa Anas in January? Who has
No,
dry in
no.
January?
And the bad thing is, if we have one, and we've done this in the past, where we have a catch up February and March with the rainfall,
Boop.
after all these denuded hillsides have been exposed and there's a lot of dirt and that mud has to move somewhere, we get into a whole different nightmare if we have really bad rains in the
Well, I was saying about the
late part.
rain's got to come February. Didn't have, I thought, well, it's going to rain like that in February. There's no way they're going to have that hillside shored up. That's going to
No,
be a hell of a
no.
mudslide. We did that up here, 2009. We had the fire that was really in Tonga. We did
Yeah. Oh,
evacuate,
yeah.
and when it rained after that,
Yeah.
that whole
The
hill caved
mountain
in.
moved
Yeah.
down the hill.
Came right down the hill. But see, this is what you used to do. You
Mhm.
used to explain the weather to people.
People say, "Do you miss being in there?" And I say, "Please don't ever ask me that again. And don't ask me the weather. Look on your phone and leave me alone." No, I don't miss it. I am so, I had a career that I'm so grateful for. I was so lucky, but it's a younger person's game now. I mean, those people at my former place of employment, NBC,
Mhm.
were on duty for 6 nights. I mean, the people weren't
Stay and sleep.
sleeping, and so that's a younger person's game. So
I
I'm
saw the
thankful
people
for the job. I'm
standing
thankful for
in,
everybody
yeah,
do, doing it, but not me.
standing out there in the wind near the fire at all hours of the day and night. And I was
Hmm.
like, no, it was terrifying. I wouldn't, yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, you were amazing. Now, how did you transition, or was it all at the same time, from news and whether or not to stand up comedy? I mean,
I got my,
yeah,
and I'll preface this by saying
sure.
real meteorologists hate this story, but
Just,
but it's true. So I came out here in 1980, here being Los Angeles, to do stand up. And I was working at the Comedy Store in 1982, and my friend, who was working at NBC at the time, brought his boss and his boss's wife to see me do a show at the Comedy Store Friday night. Long 6, 7 people on the show, and I talked on stage about having gotten my career start working for Armed Forces Radio and Television. That's how I cut
oh,
my
wow.
teeth in the business. So, and I told some anecdotes about being forced to do the weather but not knowing anything about it. But that didn't seem to bother the Navy. They didn't care. So I got off stage and I went to meet these people backstage. And this is a true story. I know it sounds outlandish, but it's true. And the man said to me, this his position was, he was the news director, the vice president of news at Channel 4. He said, "This is a very odd question, but do you have any desire to come and do some vacation relief fill-in work for me? I have a Maine weather guy who hasn't had a vacation in a year. I need some help on weekends. I just need a utility player. Do you have any desire to do that?" And I said, "You did hear me say that I don't know anything about the weather." He said, "Perfect. There's no weather in California. This will work out great." So I said, "Okay." I was making, as you well know, $25 a set at the Comedy Store. So I almost
And
passed out when he asked me
you were
this
lucky to
opportunity.
get that.
Yeah. So I said, "Yes, I accept. And may I carry your wife to the car? Is there anything I can do for you?"
Right.
So I had to audition. So I auditioned the following week and I got the job being the utility player, doing the fill in work for 2 years. Then the main weather guy left to go to CBS, and I was bumped up, and I retired 2 weeks shy of my 40th anniversary. It's the greatest stroke of show business luck since that woman was discovered at Schwab's Pharmacy in the 40s.
Right.
I'm so lucky. But that's how I started. I was doing comedy first, and then
That's right.
I got the weather job.
Well, I mean, I can see why you say real meteorologists go, "Da, da, da, how
Yeah.
can,
Yeah, right. Because they've been looking at their barometer since they were 6 and
right?
measuring the wind on the shed. And was their dream. I literally backed into a career, but you know how I came out here in 1980, which is what I'll call the end of the comedy tsunami, when there was a
Yes.
comedy a shop in every town in America. There were more of those than Starbucks, and doing the road was hard. I was what they call a feature act, a middle act. Nobody knew who I was, so I wasn't a headliner. So I was a middle act. So for a feature spot for 6 days, you'd make $500 or $600, and sometimes have to pay your own transportation. And I had kids. I said, I can't do this. I can't afford it. So when this opportunity to do the weather presented itself, boom! It was an astonishing stroke of luck.
And I know you mean. I started doing stand up when I was 15 years old in 1977, at the
Yeah.
peak of Rusty Blitz's impromptu bagel in every coffee house and every stand up. And you'd have a place, transmission repair and stand up comedy. It was ridiculous. And I
Yeah.
played every darn one of them in the Comedy Store
Yeah.
and the Improv and the thing.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I did them all. And then in the 80s, it all got weird. They started making movies about being a stand up comic. And all of a sudden, it
Hmm.
became this weird thing. And I don't think it got as good in the 80s. I think we had a real peak in the 70s.
No, I agree. And then especially around town where they clubs here are what they call showcase clubs, where they don't want to pay you. They just want to give you an opportunity because it's comedy college. You're working on our stage, honing your craft, and you may get discovered.
Oh,
So
I know
listen,
who said
you
that.
should
I know
pay
who said
us.
that because she said that to me too. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, that was. And then they had to go on strike in order to get paid. And that was a whole different
I was
thing.
there. There's pictures of me. If you get the book, I'm doing about that covers the whole history of the
Yeah.
Comedy Store strike. Two pictures of me with my little picket sign. I
Yeah.
was
There
out
you
there.
go.
I was out there.
And you know, and they if you know, you had to pry $25 a person out of their
Yeah.
greedy little paws. And the truth of the matter was, these people, you know, Mitzi Shore and Bud Friedman were millionaires. And what other entertainment venue would you not pay your talent? Would a
They
jazz
literally
band come in and not be paid?
yeah, the strike literally
No,
started
the
over.
whole
Yeah,
it was crazy.
it started over someone asking for gas money. Somebody actually asked
Yeah.
for gas money, and she
Hmm.
couldn't even do that. And they did, "Could I get a sandwich or something?" And for gas money, it's like absolutely not. And then we're like, "Okay, this is getting out of control." It's
Yeah,
like, and
I
so
mean,
we
it was
find, yeah,
impossible to have a career.
yeah. So it was a hard time. Now I was reading about how you were initially inspired way back in high school. Your uncle got you tickets to George Carlin.
Oh, you got a good, yes. Well, you know, many people of my generation see him as the lighthouse in a foggy night. He was the guy who, anyway, I went to see this show, uh, in, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They used to
Mm,
have shows along the East Coast called music fairs. In the summer, they have these things that look like Cirque du Soleil tents. And they were quite beautiful. And they could fit 3,000 people into one of these tents. And it was
Jesus.
a great venue. So my uncle gave me tickets to see George at the Valley Forge Music Fair, which was outside Philadelphia. It was fantastic. And I mean, I had seen comics on Ed Sullivan and The Tonight Show, and you see them do 5 minute chunks in a very controlled circumstance, but I never
Yes, yes.
saw one do a show where they're doing an hour, 90 minutes of just them talking with no
Mm,
notes and maybe a bottle of water and a stool on the stage. And I'd never seen how that's done. And I also didn't understand how it may take you 10 years to build, you know, an hour and a half of a good headlining set. I didn't know how that all worked. But I just saw George Carlin stand up there for an hour and a half and say these words that he had seemingly never said before. That was one of his brilliant things. He would just seem so off the cuff. And honest to God, it was a truly religious experience. It changed my life. I never thought I could do it professionally, but I was so moved by that. It was otherworldly to me. He was like a TV evangelist, the way he
right.
manipulated the emotions of the crowd, and it changed my life. So he was the guy. I also like Robert Klein, who was a
Oh my
amazing.
God.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
these are the masters. I absolutely grew up watching Carlin, and it's fascinating because Carlin started coming out in a suit with the
oh
short
yeah,
hair.
he was
He
like,
was like
and so, the
Bob
same with
Newhart,
Richard
you know.
Pryor. They were like the Vegasy kind of slick suit guys, and then they both had a religious conversion and became who they were.
And then, yeah, and then he turned into George Carlin. Always
But
brilliant, and I love that. That's always a great moment when if I have a good night with my show is when I have some ad libs and my friends come up to me and go, "Okay, which thing was written and which thing was the ad lib?
oh,
Okay,
that's
this was an
fair.
ad lib. No, that's
Yeah,
in the script. This was in the script. No, that was an
yeah.
ad lib." And I so far I drove people mad with that, and I go, "Yes, yes." When it all flows, when it all just flows,
And then you have to
like
try to
it's
remember
all
that and
real.
write it down when you get home. You know, something
Yeah,
you
right. And then you're gonna don't let me forget that one.
do.
Um, you've now been doing stand-up comedy for absolutely forever, as you've said, and amazingly, many people would say, "Oh, is that a young man's game?" But as we've seen, not necessarily. We've seen all the people who kept going all the way, all the way. I mean, oh my God,
Mhm.
Bob Hope was 100, still telling jokes.
Yeah.
We can. That's a great thing about that. Beauty may go away, but funny's forever. And
That's a great
you
way to describe it.
created these shows. You've got the thing, you got a podcast, a radio show, you've got a show. You have this thing of unassisted living,
Hmm.
and it is now exploded to the point that you have a residency at the
Yeah.
El Portal Theater.
We've been doing. I don't. Have you ever been in there? It's a beautiful venue.
No, I
I'm
haven't
in
been in
this.
this other room. You're in this room there,
I'm
a
in this
special
small room.
studio.
It's called the Marilyn Monroe Forum. It's 100 seats,
Okay,
which is perfect for me.
beautiful.
and it's semicircular. It's a very intimate room. You can walk right up and have eye contact with the audience, and I really love it. And we've been there over a year. We've had a year
Oh,
of sold out shows. Wendy Liebman, you know Wendy, is my
I
opening act.
do indeed.
We're doing a show on January 26th for a fundraiser for the Wildfire Recovery Fund. 100% of
Thank
the
you.
profits will go to, housing and medical care and mental health uh, uh, abilities for people who have been displaced by the fires. And the response for it has been so good. We're going to do it again on February 23rd. So we have two shows where
Oh,
we're giving, and we have a special guest uh, for this one. In my old television show that I had following Saturday Night Live called It's Fritz, we had a band that was led by Lawrence Juber, who was the lead guitarist of Paul McCartney and Wings. And he's one of the great session players of all time. He's going to come and open that show for us, and then Wendy, and then I. So we're giving him a nice show.
okay. I think I need to go. Wendy Lieben's going to be there too. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, getting
she's
in the
so
car,
funny.
getting
She's
in the
one of the
car.
funniest people on the planet.
She's absolutely brilliant. This is incredible. I'm seeing the outpouring of support where people are doing huge benefits now for
They really
everyone
are.
in the
I just
fires.
read
It's
that
just
thing this
incredible.
morning where Billie Eilish and all these huge bands are going to do the forum. They're going
They're
to,
all going
we're not going
Gaga,
to raise
Pink,
that much
everybody.
money, but people want to feel empowered because
Mhm.
everybody has an acquaintance or a coworker or a relative who has experienced the tragedy of this fire. I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on just east of where you live in Altadena and Eaton Canyon. It's unbelievable. I mean, when they do those shots of the cameraman in the car and they just drive down the street and property after property of decimation, of completely denuded properties where you can't even recognize that there was a home there,
And
is
two friends who lost their house. I mean, to the dirt, to the bricks.
just awful. Yeah. So we're just going to allow people to come and express. Again, this is not one of those $1 million fundraisers. It's just a small thing, but I think people like to feel like they're contributing to the welfare of their neighbors and stuff. So
And
anyway,
as I said, it's about feeling better too, as I said, talk about in the show. People need desperately to laugh, to be entertained, to feel good. We've
oh yeah,
just been through so much stress. I mean, as I said, I was ridiculously lucky, just landing right smack in the middle of the whole thing.
yeah.
But the constant alerts, and then you're going, well, what if the wind changes? The whole city, we this
Oh yeah,
feeling of, when does this end? When does this end? And the people who were right there and the people who evacuated right at the edge, that's just, when you evacuate, if you're lucky, if you're so lucky you evacuate, you come back to your house. And in 2009, we did that. We had to evacuate. The fire was right there. And we're
oh
like,
yeah.
yep,
They've had a
we're
lot of
gone.
fires up there.
And fabulous, brilliant Tonga Fire Department. They're famous in France. We love them. And they got it out. And came back, and oh, the house is still here, a little smoky, but the sensation when you sit there at a friend's house with your things piled there and go, this might be all I own.
Yes,
This is
yes.
it.
So
And
true.
for a couple of my friends, it was, well, yeah, that's it. This, I have this. I also have this. I have a jacket. I have a pair of shoes. It's just that, what that does to your psyche cannot be
Yeah, it's a real
described.
insecurity without question. And you mentioned it before. I think comedians have a unique responsibility right now. I don't do any politics. And I think over and above the fires, just the general malaise that the planet is in right now, the comedian can take you out of your head for an hour and
Mhm.
a half and just make you forget all those things and talk about my whole act is just talking about what I have in common with other people my age. And so if you can just, which connects people to one another and to me, I think that's a gift. We're in a really weird place in America right now. People are feeling very vulnerable and wondering if the whole thing's going to last. And I think comics have a great job to make them forget that for an hour.
I think so. I think so. And you talk about that you're sure to say unassisted living, which is hilarious. Um, you have matinees. Your shows are at an early hour
Yes,
because, as
because
you
my
said,
my demographic needs to be
yeah,
home by dark.
it's like, I'm fine. We'll do the show early. He says no stress. Y'all just come in and you can all get the early bird special dinner and get
No,
home in time.
precisely. They appreciate it, and it's only an hour and a half because
Okay.
some people time their medication when they come to my shows. So.
And people have to go to the bathroom. Nobody can sit as long as they
Exactly.
used to. It's a
Exactly.
cat. I friend well, Robin Tyler, the brilliant comedian, she had a show she did for years, and then she remounted it and she put it in intermission because she said, "I have to go to the bathroom now during the show. I
Oh
can't just
no, I
stay up here
know,
the
I
whole
know.
time. I gotta
You
put in
know,
a break."
they've invited me to keep going at the El Portal in perpetuity, and I say they want me
Well,
to be so old that I have to stop the show twice for pee breaks, but that's okay for me and the audience.
well, this is in perpetuity. What is it like to have a residency? Now, as I said, I've played clubs, I've been on the road, I've done to have a residency.
Well,
And what is that like?
it's the loosest interpretation of a
Okay,
residency. I do one show a month,
okay.
and and I, and around LA in the clubs, you get a 10 or a 15-minute spot. But you can't put together a headline set doing 10 or 15 minutes. You have to have an opportunity to do an hour, piece everything together, do your transitions, have ebbs and flows in the energy of the show. And the only way you can do that is to be able to do an hour and 15 minutes. And this affords me at least once a month to go and stretch out and try to plug everything in and see how it fits in long form. And it's been a gift. It's really helped me to write more and not be afraid to try stuff.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, that's the thing. When I first started doing my one woman shows, which is like an hour and a half, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, the first time I went to New York, they said an hour and a half. And I went, I'm an LA comic, 20 minutes. It's like a lifetime on
No,
stage. Who has an
yeah,
hour and a half?
yeah. No, that's 100% true. You have to be, and I can't go on the road. I mean, I would go on the road, but I don't. So, the road helps you stretch out a little bit. I don't get the benefit of that now. So, this is a wonderful opportunity, at least once a month, to kind of take a deep breath and be a human being and talk to them, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, and give them a
And
good
I
time.
like that, as you said, you can see them in intimate space. That's why I do like often the smaller cabarets because they're right there. You can talk to
Yeah.
them. It's great
This
to
is
say,
a
"Oh, look, I played this
semicircular
huge place," but
this is a semicircular
nice.
a stage arrangement, and it's just awesome. You can just walk right up and talk to the front row if you choose to. I mean, I don't do crowd work, but when you make eye contact with them, it makes them feel good. You know.
I like this. I like this. Now, obviously, you're coming up with this one for the 26th, which will be,
Mhm.
fundraiser for this savage fire we've all just survived.
Mhm.
Um, you do a lot of charity work. When you go to your website immediately, they're just
Mhm.
right there. There you have three different charities that you regularly associate with.
Well, I'll tell you, during my career as a weather person, the most satisfying part of that job was being invited to do what I call community outreach,
Mhm.
nonprofit work. I always said that when I would put my head down at night, those things were infinitely more satisfying than being inaccurate about the weather 4 out of 5 days a week, my personal satisfaction universe. And so it was very important to me. And it's unbelievable. You know how it is. Had a powerful star um, uh, notoriety around the United States. You can show up somewhere, they can increase their ticket prices and sell out, and all you have to do is show up and tell jokes.
That's
I mean, it would be immoral not to help them. It's too
right.
easy. It's not like you're getting there bandaging people or feeding homeless people every day. You can be of great help with very little effort.
Well, that's what I've liked that I've been able to just because a thing I did 50 freaking years ago now that I mean I'm able to go out to smaller charity organizations around the country, all kinds of places, and they'll make money. They'll
Yeah.
make
I,
money.
I
They will
love
be
doing
able
the
to
smaller
do
ones,
their thing.
the non-corporate oriented
Yeah.
ones where you're not feeding the bureaucracy of the organization. You're really, you're giving them some help that can pull them out of a financial rut or something.
Well, it's like during the 80s and 90s, I did a ton of stuff for AIDS Project Los Angeles, but over the years, there's many AIDS projects serving people with HIV all over the country, even in small
Mhm,
towns. And
mhm.
Madonna and Lady Gaga, and they're not coming. They're not getting that kind of stars are not going to go there and do their fundraiser, their walk. They're in, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's not happening. And I can go in and then they can have a really successful event.
But you have
And
to be of that mindset. I
mhm.
mean, there are so many very generous stars and everything, but there's so many people that are so preoccupied with making sure they don't lose whatever money they have, and they don't do a lot for other people.
I've always said, like, if you're here, you're sucking up oxygen. I mean, don't be a waste of the,
Mhm.
and when you have fame, whatever fame you have, however, notoriety, even if it's like weird fame or you this much,
Mhm.
it's like, can you do something with that? Is there
Right.
somebody somewhere that will
If you
make a
can put
donation if
asses
you
in
do a
seats, you
PSA?
should be helping people. Yeah.
Hmm? Sorry.
If you're putting asses in seats, you should help people.
Yes. If you can put an acid disease anywhere, absolutely. It's so easy. And now, of course, with our fabulous, insane internet, the ability now for a celebrity of any stripe to be able to get out there and say, hey, can you help people? Can you help this charity, etc. Oh, I
Yep.
just lost your audio for a sec.
No,
Sorry.
I had tuned out. I was being asked
Okay.
a question and I didn't want to bother you with it. But no, it's a very satisfying part. And times like this, you know, it's not even the amount of money that you help with. It's whatever you think you can afford, but it's people just want to feel empowered to do something because I sort of compared this firestorm with the homeless population, the homeless situation in LA. It's so ever present and so big that you feel, why should I help? There's no way they're ever going to solve this. Is too big.
It's overwhelming.
And this fire almost feels the same way. But if you just give them a little way to at least make their emotions felt, and by helping in some small way, then you're healing yourself and you're healing the people you're benefiting. So
Right, and it's something because I mean I've already seen on TV that everyone's bringing donations, and the fire departments are going,
yeah,
stop at the
yeah.
pie and the donuts. I haven't, please. And there's bags and bags of clothes and stuff. They're inundated. So something where it's like, okay, look, here's a group, here are charities that are directly helping these people and the survivors, and you can help them. But here we're going to send them a check, and all you need to do is come on the 26th and be relaxed and have a wonderful time with you and Wendy
Yes,
Liebman, for heaven's sake.
exactly, 100%. Yeah. Are you still doing your one person show?
I am. I'm going to be,
I'm
actually
so
start
glad.
plugging myself. I'm going to be in Atlanta in April. I'll be in Provincetown in July. I'll be in New York in May. Absolutely.
Well, people should go see you because you're one of the most naturally funny people ever doing it. I remember you from Laugh Factory days. I haven't been there in a long time. But you talk about people, age is, it doesn't matter how old you are as long as you're still funny. Um, Tom Dreesen, who is 80 years
Sure.
old, goes to the Laugh Factory all the time. He's still cranking to 25-year-old drunks. He still does it.
Rich Little was doing, I think he's still
Yes.
doing 4 shows a week because it's right down the street. He's in Vegas, and he
Yeah.
goes down the street to the Laugh Factory outlet there
Yes.
at the hotel
Yes.
and does 4 shows a week. And he's got audio visual stuff. He's got his
Yeah.
paintings going, and he's,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
but here's the crazy thing, because growing up in show business and doing comedy, I met all of the old stars. So Rich Little and I are sitting at the breakfast table talking about people we know, and I go, "Wait, how old am I? Why do I know all the same people as Rich Little? That seems wrong." So
That just seemed like real show business back then. He was on the Johnny Carson show a million times, and that was real show. But I love to talk to those old guys. I
yes,
met
yes.
I met Bob Newhart, God rest his
Oh,
soul, at a birthday party, and I said, "You love the old stories about show business, the anecdotes. I'm sure you do." So I said to him, "Do you miss doing Las Vegas?" And he said, "No, Las Vegas stopped being good when the mob stopped running Las Vegas." He said, "Working for the mob in Las Vegas was a luxury. They treated you so well." And people dressed up to come to shows. They sometimes wore tuxedos to come to shows, and
is
they
it
would come in
true?
limousines. And it was a dress up, it was a fabulous social affair. Now you got a guy from Texas, and they have a 4 drink minimum, and he puts his feet on the table and he leaves his hat on. And he was so funny, but he's so right. I love the older days in show business.
I do. I love, yeah. And I'm just, yeah, I was so happy I got to work with it, like the older stars, like you did. I remember
Hmm.
Debbie Reynolds and all of these people. And
Hmm.
I did a telethon with Bob Hope, for heaven's sakes. I can
There
say I
you
worked with
go.
Bob
There
Hope.
you go. Crazy.
So, all right. So you are at, it's the El Portal, but it's the Marilyn Monroe. So I have on my fabulous press release. So, okay. Also, this is only $40 a ticket to this thing.
Yeah.
And $50 gets you the fancy cocktail table seat. That is unheard of in Los
Right.
Angeles.
And you're very exclusive because there are only 5 cocktail tables. So you better get in there
Oh.
quick. That means you get to be right up next to my physical presence. And when I'm talking loudly, you'll feel my warm breath on your neck.
So El Portal, for people who don't know, this is the intimate Monroe form. This is at 5269 Lancashire Boulevard. It's in North Hollywood. People go, it's in
North
Hollywood. It's in
Hollywood,
North
it's
Hollywood.
Lancashire. It's right across the street from the now defunct Lamely Theater, which is still open, but at the end of the
Um,
year it closes. My heart is broken that the Lameleys are going out of business. But it's right across the street from that theater.
and it's not nice. I've been there a couple times. Lovely neighborhood. There's some really good restaurants in the neighborhood. So
Well,
it's a
I
nice
love,
place.
maybe you feel the same way. I love working at theaters with history. Now, the El
Yes, yes.
Portal started as a vaudeville house in the
Oh,
20s and 30s, and Bob Hope and Red Buttons and all
red
the old
buttons. Oh my
vaudevillians
God, right?
would work there. And then it became a movie palace. And when she was 8 years old, Debbie Reynolds, who was born and raised in Burbank, would ride her bike to the El Portal to watch movies. And that's why later on, when she was tuning up a show for Vegas, she would come and work at the El Portal. They called the main stage the Debbie Reynolds stage. It's like 360 seats. It's a beautiful venue. And so I love a place because it's rich with vibes in there, great memories. And they call it the Marilyn Monroe Forum where I work because right across the parking lot from the theater is North Hollywood Elementary School where she was a student. So they named it the Marilyn
Wow.
Monroe.
Well, now she was a student everywhere because they moved constantly. I mean, what is it they
Yeah.
talk about? Oh, Marilyn lived here. She lived in 40 different apartment
Yeah,
buildings.
right. It's like
Um,
George Washington lived here.
yeah, she was
Yeah.
freaking everywhere. Yeah, that's what I love is I do love the history of old theaters. I actually got to do I do a show in French and I actually got to be at
Oh my.
Théâtre des in Paris. I got to play a like 300-year-old theater in Paris
Well,
once.
now tell me what that's like, writing humor and making it land in another language.
Darn near just the side of impossible. It's absolutely bananas. What happened is I met this incredible guy, Patrick Loubatière, he's a writer, and he said, I think we could do your American show in French. And I went, seriously? And he goes, okay, yeah, half of it is stuff that is completely American. It makes literally no sense if you translated it anyway. But there's whole chunks. This crosses over, this crosses over, that crosses over, and they're obsessed with Little House on the Prairie. La Petite Maison dans la Prairie. Très, très populaire. They're obsessed with Little House on the Prairie. They're obsessed with Nellie Olson. So yeah, foot in the
Wow.
door there.
Isn't that
And so he said,
amazing?
no, crazy. So he said, if we do this part and this part, and we'll do kind of a sketch thing. So he's on stage, so it's like a sketch thing, discuss this, then I talk, and then he talk, and we did. Oh my God. I cannot describe the hit this was. So then he's like, you
Oh,
want to keep going? So then he wrote a thing called Le Mal au Trésor de Nelly Olson, which is totally different material going into the audience. It was a prop show. You go into the audience and they pick a thing out of a box and you go, you've picked that. And then they get a whole story and a sketch and a video and a thing about it. It's insane.
wow.
Then we're currently doing our third show that we just launched recently, and I'm heading out there in February, March. Nelly Olson enflamme les années 80. And
That
that's
sounds
Nelly
Nelly
Olson sets
also on
fire to the
fire.
80s. And enflamme les années 80. And it's 80s nostalgia, game shows, music, celebrities, all kinds of craziness. The French versus American stuff that was hot in the 80s, then TV shows,
So it was
parodies
smart
of
to get
game shows.
somebody of that culture to help you. That's fantastic.
Oh, exactly. And all the shows, audience participation, dragging people up onto the stage, really, really wacky stuff.
Hmm.
And it works. And when I was learning French, first show, I barely spoke French when I started. I was learning French, and people said, well, can't you just do it, yeah, phonetically? No, because you have to know where the joke is. You have to know where the joke is. So you actually have to go
Yes.
learn French the hard way. And I had to actually go crack a book and go to school. And but that's the thing is there are things in the two languages are very similar, and then there are things that are like only funny in French. And there's only funny in English. And you're just like, wow, that is so weird. So yeah, there's things you can do where you can say, well, I want to do this gag in French. And it's like, yep, nip, 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 nip. No one will get that.
Are
They
they
will not.
accepting of American? In the 40s and 50s, France was the place where American musicians who weren't getting their due in the United States went. You
Eartha
know,
Kitt.
yes, Eartha Kitt and Dorothy Dandridge and Miles Davis and all these guys. And Miles Davis was actually depressed having to come back to the United States because of the racism here. But over there, he was totally accepted as the genius he was.
This is me. I am totally accepted as the genius I am,
Well, I
apparently.
would hope so.
And
Thank God. I'm only big
yeah,
between Santa Barbara and the Mexican border. I don't do it.
they do. French people, of course, are mad for various American movies and TV shows, and
Mhm.
they think we're just like we're adorable, especially when we try to speak French. Like how adorable! That's very funny. You try to
They're
speak.
so cute.
Um, they think we're cute, and then of course they love Little House. If you go to France, it's just tell them you know me. And they like Nellie Olson and something that I do. I don't know. It's something gels somewhere. I hit, they get me. I get them. I don't know. Makes no sense, but I do. And so I go there, and I am greeted insanely warmly, and the shows are sold out, and it's just this bonkers
That's
chemistry
wonderful.
thing.
Do you do autograph signings and stuff like that over there? And
Yes, I do that. And then this year was the 50th anniversary of Little House. So all of us from the show, this last year, 2024, we did the 50th. I don't know how many things we did. It was back to back, like every weekend. We were doing some kind of show. Either I was doing my stand-up show somewhere and signing, or we had a Little House themed autograph event. And we had an event in Simi Valley. It was like Woodstock. We had 18,000 people show up.
oh, wow, that's wonderful.
The power of TV.
But not only that, we've had other people on from my three dads and or my three sons
Yes.
uh, and I talk to these guys and they say the new streaming platforms like MeTV have given all these shows a second and third generation of fans, and people are really finding joy and solace in watching these old, wonderful, gentle shows that showed humanity, like Little House and all that family connections. People love that, and it's sort of, I'm sure you're growing second and third generation fans out
Oh God, last I checked, I think we're on our sixth or seventh generation of
there.
fan.
Oh,
Because
wow.
if they were an adult in the 70s and watched it, and then their kids, and then their kids, I said we have the original generation, the rerun generation. Oh, the before school reruns and the after school reruns. Then we had the VHS people, the cable people, the VHS people, the DVD generation. And I was talking to an older lady, and she had a granddaughter there. And she goes, "Well, I watch it. My children watch. I don't think my granddaughter watches it." And she goes, "Yes, I do. I watch it on YouTube on my phone." And
Wow.
there's a channel because Roku and everything. So check out these out. All your favorite shows are out there. There's some channel on Roku that literally shows Little House on the Prairie 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and nothing else. I can't imagine what that would be like to watch that, but it's absolutely it
Well, it's
has
just
taken
something
on a
about
life.
the content, and a lot of shows were like that. I mean, we're in a dark, sort of abrasive world where humor is darker and
Mhm.
raggedy now, and it was something you could watch with a whole family, and there were always issues you could discuss as a family, and I just think
Yes.
it's awesome.
And I think that's true. I mean, that's why, with this show, as I say, the Alison Arms, we talk about things to make you feel good.
Hmm.
There's so much incredible television and film that people are turning back to because there were things in it that were comforting or meant something and allowed you to
Absolutely,
process things emotionally.
100%. Family survival and all that kind of stuff.
And no matter what was going on, the Ingalls had it worse. So
Right? Exactly.
So that's why, even in the fires, it's like it's a prairie fire. It was like a prairie firestorm. It was a prairie fire because it tore through there. I was just absolutely having. Um, so when you do your unassisted living or unassisted residency,
Mhm.
so as you said, you don't really do crowd work, but do people come up to you afterwards? What sort of things do they ask you?
Well, I have this dual career where I was on TV as a weather person for 40 years. And it's a really interesting kind of broadcasting because uh, you break the fourth wall. You're talking right to the audience every night. And you come on at the same time every night. And at 5:18, I would come on for the 5 o'clock weather for 40 years every night. So people have this emotional connection with you. So they want to come up and just, they might not even talk about the show they just seen and how brilliant it was. Sometimes they just want to say how you affected their life, or I now have a parakeet named Fritz thanks to you, or something,
What?
that kind of thing. You know,
But well, that's true, and it's where it's just also
you
it's the news and the
they
weather. They're
incorporate
literally
you. This is a true story. So I was in Vaughn's, which is close to my house,
I love the Vons.
and I was, looking raggedy. I had the flu or something. I had pajama bottoms on, and this lady came up to me and she said, "I've been a fan of yours. I just love you. I've been watching you for all these years. I want to make a suggestion." I said, "Okay, here it comes." I said, "Please." She said, "Never wear that tie that you wore last Thursday because it doesn't complement your hair." And these are older women that they treat you like an aunt, but they feel like because they invite you into their house
You know
every
you.
day for 40 years, they are entitled to an opinion to tell you how they feel about you. And you just have to smile because it comes from a good place and it's really interesting.
Right, because you don't know that, but they know you. And I've
Oh,
had people even say that to me. They sort of even get it. Some people are just like, well, I know you. I've had people come up and go, oh, hi, this is really weird. You don't know me, but I really, really, really know you.
oh God.
And I'm
Kind
like,
of bordering on stalkerishness.
you're in my living room. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I feel like I go,
Yeah.
yes, it's
No.
okay. Yes,
No,
I
you
get
make
it.
an
Yeah.
emotional connection with these people. And the camera doesn't lie. People have a good sense of who you are just by the way you communicate with them and how you interact with the other people you work with. It's really quite fascinating. But it's a
Well, and
gift.
as
Yeah.
kooky as it said, doing the weather, it's a weird thing because people are watching you going, can I play golf tomorrow? Is
That's
my
all they want to
child's
know.
game going to
That's all
happen?
they want to know. They don't care about isobars and isotherms and low pressure and high pressure. Please, for the love of God, do I have to put on my child's Hello Kitty raincoat for school tomorrow? That's all they want to know. That's all they want to know. They don't care about all the science. And if you can communicate that in a friendly way every day, they'll be your friend. Because if you look at all the channels, when I started, there were three channels, two, four, and
Yeah,
seven. Everybody's doing the same thing at the same time. All the weathermen came on at the same time. All the sports guys
it's
came
so
on at the
surreal.
same time. So the only thing that's going to attract them to you, you're given the same information from the National Weather Service as the handsome guy on Channel 7 is giving. What makes them watch you instead? That's when your own personality and whatever you have to offer subliminally is what attracts them to you. So it's a very odd business. Odd.
But I mean, that's what you're saying. That's his life. I mean,
Yeah.
it's how you interact with other people
Mm-hmm.
is what makes your life, your existence, and your career.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
That's what it comes down to. All right. So I got to give him the scoop. So 26, it's Sunday, January 26th and February 23rd, March, at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. So you can kind of go in and get a little dinner
You go
afterwards. You
in
can go
and you
home.
can be out and you're home by dark if you don't,
You home by dark at the El Portal Theater, which is absolutely gorgeous in the intimate Monroe form. Sundays at 3. And this one, the 26th and the 23rd, are benefits for people who just went through that fire. Now, what's the organization that's getting this? It's going to
Wildfire
be
Recovery Fund, which is
Wildfire
through the
Recovery Fund.
California Community Foundation,
Oh,
which
we love them.
helps people that have been displaced from their home, that need mental health services, that need medical services. They are caseworkers and they will escort you through the harrowing process of having been uh,
That's
displaced. Yeah,
That's the biggie
really
because my
important.
friends I've talked to, it's like, okay, yeah, I got my check, whatever. I've talked to the insurance company, the check is coming. I've talked to
Yeah.
FEMA. I have a place to, but have you slept? Well, no.
No, yeah, no, that's 100% it. It's I think your mental health is a bigger issue. Just the insecure feeling of losing everything and not having a home is.
Trauma. I mean, just massive, massive
Mhm,
trauma that these
mhm.
people are going through. So for tickets, there's online ticketing, and it is you just go to El Portal Theater, that's and spelled the fancy way. Theta, Leelpo Portal
If we were in
Portal
France, that's the
Theta
way we would spell it.
Theatra theater.com/Fritz Coleman. I mean, you can Google it. It's El Portal Theater Fritz Coleman. There's on your website, absolutely on the Fritz Coleman website, you can find it. The El Portal website, absolutely. And honestly, nowadays for a show in LA, $40 is a freaking steal. I do that. I never charge too much for my shows. I never charge too much for
No,
my shows.
no. I mean, you look at Broadway and stuff. You can spend a couple of $100s for tickets for everything. No, we just want it to be accessible. Just come and have a good time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I want to do this because you talk about, well, life, and being older.
Hmm. We're talking about having grandchildren, taking medication at night before you go to bed, changes in your body that you can't control. It's all the relatable thing, the joy, the euphoria of becoming of a certain age.
And this is the longest running. It's just this Portal's longest running attraction. This has been selling out. You're setting records for
I
doing
said the
this.
same thing about the Tower of Terror at Disneyland. But we're we're just cranking away, and we're so thankful because I'm sure you worry about this and talk about it with your other performing friends. We all wonder in the era of streaming if live performance is going to be a thing. And I hope so because it's the community aspect of having a common reaction to what you're watching that makes us human beings. And just coming out for a live event, it's very therapeutic. I hope
It
it
is.
never goes away.
Well, I found that, in 2020 when all my live events were shut down and I
Mhm.
began doing things online, reading online, doing live things online, doing
Mhm.
live comedy shows in my living room where I was still, hi there, how you doing? Are you okay out there? Yeah, talking directly to people. And it was incredible the response I
Yeah.
got. I felt better. They felt better. And then when I could go live again, it was just like the
No, it's a
sky had
public
opened.
service. It's a public service. I think comedians have never been more important. As long as you're not reminding people of how dark the world is, just take them out of their heads for now. You know.
Yeah, they already know that. All right. Thank
Yes.
you so much. You are a
Oh,
delight as
you're
always.
awesome. You're so good at this and everything you do, and I'm happy to talk to you, Alison.
All right, this is fantastic. Sunday, January 26th, El Portal. 3 o'clock. What? 3 o'clock? You got nothing to do at 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, come
Come
on.
on. And you see Fritz and Wendy, our beautiful Wendy Lehman, who we love so much.
Mm.
And you'll be helping all of these people who, including my personal friends who lost absolutely everything in the fires. So we love you. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
And
you, my darling. Be safe.
thank
Good to talk to you.
ladies and gentlemen, Fritz Coleman, and I'm Alison Arkham. And this is the Alison Arkham Show.
I found my way home across the ground.